There is a recurring emotional reality that many people quietly suffer through. The pattern of falling for the wrong person again and again. At first glance, these choices seem accidental, coincidences of poor timing or incompatible personalities. But if you zoom out far enough, the repetition forms a shape, a familiar emotional rhythm. It is as if your heart is retracing the same steps in different shoes, seeking something it can't seem to find, only to end up once again in quiet disappointment, feeling abandoned, confused, or drained. This repetition is not without meaning. In fact, Carl Jung believed that it carries profound psychological significance. He argued that the people we're drawn to, especially those we're drawn to repeatedly and intensely, often reflect unresolved parts of ourselves. These unconscious parts, he said, influence not only who we love, but also how we love. Carl Jung's concept of projection explains that what we repress within ourselves doesn't disappear. It gets projected outward onto others. We're often unaware of it. We meet someone who seems to captivate us. They feel powerful, exciting, dangerous, mysterious, emotionally distant, or perhaps deeply vulnerable, unstable, or volatile. And even though something about them may not feel right, we're magnetically pulled toward them. What we often fail to realize is that this magnetism is a mirror. It is not that the person completes us, they reflect the unhealed story within us. To understand this better, we must understand Jung's concept of the shadow. The shadow refers to the unconscious aspects of the self, qualities we deny, suppress, or are unaware of. Sometimes these are negative traits, like selfishness or pride. But the shadow can also include our unmet needs, our longings, our capacity for love, or our strength that was never allowed to be expressed. When we meet someone who embodies these repressed parts of ourselves, we are not simply falling in love. We are responding to something deeply familiar. They feel like home, not because they are safe or good, but because they resemble the emotional environments in which we were first shaped. Consider someone who grew up in a home where love was conditional. Perhaps their emotional needs were ignored unless they performed, pleased, or proved themselves. That person may grow into an adult who only feels worthy when earning someone's affection. If a partner is distant or emotionally unavailable, they will feel triggered, but also strangely compelled. They'll feel that if they can just get this person to love them, they will finally be enough. But this is not love. This is a trauma reenactment. Jung believed that we unconsciously seek what is unresolved. We recreate familiar emotional pain, not because we enjoy it, but because we are trying to master it. Our inner child is still trying to rewrite the original story. The tragedy is that the more we chase this repetition, the further we drift from healing. You may have noticed how calm, stable people sometimes bore you. There's no spark, no drama, no adrenaline. And so we move on, waiting for that magnetic pull again, the emotional intensity we've come to associate with romance. But what if that spark is actually the activation of your deepest wounds? Jung warned us not to confuse projection for passion. The person we think we love may actually be the symbol of a story we've been repeating our whole life. And until we become conscious of that story, we'll keep playing the same role, attracting different versions of the same character. This is not fate. This is psychology. But there is hope, because once you begin to observe the pattern, once you recognize your role in it, you have the power to step out of it. You don't have to keep choosing pain. Now, let's go deeper. Let's talk about individuation, the core of Jung's philosophy. Individuation is the lifelong journey of becoming your true self. Not the self you were told to be, not the self who lives for validation or avoids rejection, but the whole self, conscious of your strengths, your wounds, your purpose. In the context of relationships, individuation means being aware of why you are attracted to someone. It means asking not just, do I want this person, but also, why do I want this person? What are they showing me about myself? If you are only drawn to people who reject you, perhaps you have not yet healed the part of you that believes love must be earned. If you are addicted to saving others, maybe a part of you is trying to save yourself through them.
If you are constantly attracted to people who make you feel small, maybe you have yet to face the part of yourself that believes you are unworthy of love, that is calm, consistent, and kind. All of these questions are uncomfortable. They require humility, silence, and inner work. But they are the beginning of freedom. Let's reflect on a common phrase. I always attract the wrong people. But what if the truth is deeper? What if we attract not who we want, but who we are? And if that's the case, then healing ourselves changes everything. When you grow in self-worth, you will no longer be attracted to those who threaten it. When you live with clarity, you will no longer tolerate confusion disguised as love. When you learn patience, you will no longer chase those who ignore your presence. There is no shortcut here. This is not about tricks or techniques. It's about transformation. And that transformation is moral as well as emotional. You see, choosing the right person is not just about insight. It's about character. If we do not develop restraint, self-respect, and humility, we will continue to chase temporary desire over lasting peace. You can be brilliant, reflective, and emotionally intelligent and still ruin your life by choosing the wrong people. Why? Because what you tolerate in others is often a reflection of what you've accepted in yourself. Now let's talk about spiritual discipline. Not in the religious sense, but in the inner sense. Discipline is what allows you to walk away from what excites your ego but wounds your soul. Discipline is what allows you to sit with loneliness instead of chasing comfort in the arms of chaos. Discipline is the bridge between knowledge and wisdom. This is why the solution to repeated heartbreak is not just intellectual, it's ethical. You must live in alignment with your highest values. That means refusing to betray yourself just to keep someone close. It means being honest about your needs. It means valuing inner peace more than outer validation. There's a quiet kind of power in knowing that you are no longer a slave to your emotional impulses. Carl Jung believed that the most dangerous people are not the ones who are evil, but the ones who are unconscious. Because when you are unconscious, you cannot see how your wounds affect others. You cannot see how your desire blinds you. You cannot see how your pain becomes your compass. Becoming conscious is not easy. It requires sitting with discomfort. It requires taking responsibility. It requires asking, what part of me keeps choosing this? And once you ask that question sincerely, you will begin to see a new path. That path will not be loud. It will not always feel exciting, but it will be real. You will start to notice people who respect your time, people who don't create emotional confusion, people who don't need to be chased. At first, you may feel skeptical. After all, your nervous system is not used to peace. But in time, your definition of love will change. Love will no longer be chaos. Love will no longer be longing. Love will no longer be pain disguised as passion. Instead, love will be stillness. Love will be respect. Love will be honesty, patience, and presence. And most of all, love will be your decision, not your addiction. You do not have to keep falling for people who ignore your value. You do not have to keep playing the same role in the same emotional story. You are allowed to rewrite your narrative. You are allowed to choose people who are aligned with your healed self, not your hurting self. But you must begin. Begin by observing, not blaming. Begin by healing, not chasing.
Begin by becoming whole, so that love becomes a reflection of your growth, not a bandage for your wounds. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." So let me leave you with this. What feels like fate may just be a familiar wound, and what feels like love may be your shadow reaching out for resolution. But once you see this, truly see it, you will be free, not just from others, but from yourself. And in that freedom, you will finally be ready to receive the kind of love that doesn't break you, but builds you.